When a group of tourists become stranded in a remote swamp, their worst nightmare comes to life as a massive man-eating crocodile starts hunting them down one by one. With nowhere to hide and no escape in sight, they must summon every ounce of courage and resourcefulness to survive this relentless predator. Can you guess how they beat the crocodile? Watch until the end to find out. We see Pete McKell, a cynical American who joins a group of tourists on a crocodile-watching river cruise in Crocodile National Park of Australia's Northern Territory. Among the group, there is also a photographer named Simon, a local Australian family of Elizabeth, Sherry, and Alan, a local couple named Russell and Gwen, an American couple named Mary, Ellen, and Everett, local tour guide Kate Ryan, as well as her trusty companion, her dog named Kevin. And after a run-in with two locals, Colin and Neil, the cruise comes to an end, and Kate prepares to return the group to base. One of the best things the movie does well is to introduce all of the members of the cruise right off the bat. However, after that, it is the location and the music that drive the movie forward, with blips of characters appearing here and there. On their way back, Everett spots a flare in the distance, and Kate tells the group that they must investigate to determine whether someone is in distress. A few miles upriver, they come across a half-sunken boat when suddenly something crashes into the tourists' boat, creating a crack in the side. Kate's only choice is to run it ashore on a small island in the middle of the river. The group disembarks and begins a discussion of what to do. Everett suddenly disappears, pulled into the water by an unseen predator. Kate comes to the conclusion that they are in the heart of a large crocodile's territory, and that it will be more aggressive than usual. As the afternoon wears on, the tourists realize that the tide is rising. In a matter of hours, their small island will be submerged. Neil and Colin arrive soon after, and as they near the island, the 25-foot-long crocodile smashes Neil and Colin's boat and sinks it. Neil manages to swim to the island safely, but Colin has disappeared. Most offerings in the nature-based horror genre seek to mythologize their killer, but Rogue stays away from that campy angle, and instead takes a more realistic bent of having the humans disrupt its way of life, even if for a moment, which is enough to set the beast off on an angry killing spree, taking away all the predictability out the window. That is not to say that there are some things that are predictable in the movie, as there are plenty of things that even an occasional horror watcher could see coming. For instance, there is Sherry, who is no more than 16 years old, meaning that there's no chance of her being killed, which is the case, as you'll see by the end of the movie. As night falls, Neil proposes that he swims to the mainland and string a rope between two trees, creating a zip line to allow the group to cross above the river. Neil succeeds in smashing that like and subscribe button. Oh, but no. Neil succeeds in setting up the rope, and Mary Ellen crosses first, only to freeze in fear halfway across. Alan becomes impatient and aggressive and attempts to get himself and Sherry across with Mary Ellen still on the line. While trying to secure the rope, Neil is attacked by the crocodile and gets eaten alive. The tree holding the rope snaps, and the three on the line fall into the water. They scurry back to the island, but as Alan crawls up on the beach, the gigantic crocodile suddenly lunges out of the water and throws him further into the river. Over the course of the movie, we can see that Neil is not just for show, and that he is not a two-dimensional clown, and that he is not out there to prove something when he takes action, but rather he cares for the other cruise members. Kate has the most going for her, in that her decision-making is distinctly human, trying to come up with the best option at the moment of action, despite the frequently limited options. And when things go wrong, which is quite often in this movie, she is not brushing things under the rug, but rather forcing herself to come up with an even greater plan that would ensure the conditional safety of the others. Later that night, Pete suggests they can delay the croc with a hook and bait on one side of the island, while everyone escapes off the other side. Kate hooks two dead birds onto the boat's anchor, while Pete secures the anchor rope to a boulder and throws the bait out into the river. After a long wait, the anchor is suddenly grabbed and pulled, and the entire group jumps into the water and makes a break for the far shore. Pete tries to stop the boulder from being pulled over as Kate swims across behind the group. The croc suddenly lets go of the hook and bait, seizes Kate, and drags her underwater. Pete hurriedly makes the swim across the river with the dog Kevin in tow and heads off into the bush to meet up with the others. There is not much character development or backstory to the characters, but the actions of each and every one of them speak for themselves, and just what kind of a character the audience is looking at. Pete is one of those characters who, despite not getting enough development on his character, his creativity, setting the trap for the crocodile, put together with the occasional levity, was just enough material the movie needed for the character. The main thing about Kate and Pete is that they both share the lead in the movie, becoming some type of a survivalist power couple, which is surely a huge difference, a big change of pace for this movie, something that adds a different angle than what is normally seen in many other creature movies. As day breaks, Pete is crossing a stream when Kevin runs away. Pete chases the dog into a cave and falls down a narrow chute into a larger cave, where he sees Neil's partly eaten corpse. He quickly realizes that the cave is the crocodile's lair, and to his surprise, he finds Kate, who is still alive, but badly injured and unconscious, with part of her left leg and right arm missing, probably eaten. He attempts to carry her out, but has to hide when he hears the crocodile eating Kevin outside the cave. The huge crocodile then slowly enters the cave, laying down and going to sleep. Trying to reach the entrance carrying Kate, Pete accidentally wakes the crocodile up, and it makes several attempts to devour both him and Kate as he retreats into the narrow confines of the cave. Finally, after a long fight in which he gets tossed around and is bitten in the hand, Pete makes one last stand. He braces a broken log against a large boulder with the sharp end pointing out towards the croc. The crocodile lunges at him, and Pete successfully impales it through the head, killing it. He escapes from the cave with Kate to join the other tourists and wait for paramedics. As the credits roll, the camera zooms in on a newspaper article detailing Pete's heroic battle with the croc and the rescue of Kate. Rogue, much like many other movies from its time period, has a few rough shots of a CG crocodile and some very clear digital additions to wide overhead shots, meaning that the movie looks good, if not spectacular. There are flashes of greatness where the crocodile sounds used in the movie perfectly match the music added to create a more suspenseful environment, without making any of it look cheesy when everything is put together. The main thing that stifles the movie is its pacing, which, combined with the thin plot, would bring the movie to be a flawed one, with some critical pacing issues and mostly flat characters. It is clear that more time spent with the script was needed. However, the movie on its own offers some real surprises that play into Australia's reputation through the brutal creature presented on the big screen, as well as the technical merits intertwined underneath. Subscribe for more videos like this, and turn on the notifications so you will never miss any of them.